Hey, thanks for coming in. My name's Morgan. I'm going to be your therapist.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what's your name?
Miranda.
Miranda. It's nice to meet you. Now, what brings you in today?
I got court ordered to be here.
Okay, so you got court ordered to be here.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and now, while you're here, is there anything that you think that we could work on together?
No, I'm just really trying to, do this to check it off for the court.
Yeah, do it for the court.
Mm-hmm.
Now, can you tell me a little bit about the court order?
Like why I went to court in the fourth. Okay.
Yeah.
So I have a couple DUIs, and this past time I got pulled over, and I had other substances in the car.
Okay. So there's a history of some DUI.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And now, how long ago was that?
It was probably about a month or so. I don't know.
Okay, so it sounds like it was recent.
Yeah.
Okay. And now, what was that experience like for you?
I don't know. It was scary. I was afraid that, I was going to actually go to, jail for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And
So you're relieved that you didn't have to go to jail.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. What, were there any other sanctions aside from coming to see us here?
I have to take a driving course and, just really, they want me to monitor my drinking. And
Okay. So monitoring, what does that look like for you?
I guess not drinking as much.
Okay.
Or being more aware of when I shouldn't drive.
So you want to work on not drinking as much
Mm-hmm.
and knowing when you can and cannot drive.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, when you did drive,
Mm-hmm.
can you tell me about the circumstances in the past?
Okay, so me and my husband like to go out together,
Mm-hmm.
and we were at a bar, and we lived probably about 15 minutes from the bar or so,
Okay.
and he was essentially a blackout,
Mm-hmm.
so he couldn't drive. I felt pretty comfortable to drive, and we couldn't leave the car there, or else it was going to get towed in the morning, and we couldn't afford that. So he made it very clear that if I didn't drive, he was going to try and drive. So
Okay, so you guys go out together to have fun, but because you were scared that he would drive in his, kind of state of intoxication, you decided to drive.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. And now, were there any other circumstances like that in the past?
yeah, actually, I would say that's majority.
Okay. So
Okay.
that's a pattern for you guys.
I wouldn't really say it's a pattern. It does happen. It's typically I'll try not to drink as much as he does whenever we go out, because I know that if he gets past a certain level, it's probably
Yeah.
going to happen.
Yeah.
So
Now, what do you know about legal drinking limits?
not much. Isn't it like a 0.7 or 0.7?
Yeah, and there's a lot of information about legal drinking limits. If you want, I can give you some information.
I mean, if it will help with the court and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it might, because then you can go back to them and say, hey, this is what I understand now.
Mm-hmm.
But typically, alcohol affects men differently than it affects women.
Mm-hmm.
So women, just kind of because of biological factors like, the amount of water that our body is made of, the alcohol absorbs faster in our bloodstream, and we don't need as much to get intoxicated. So typically our blood alcohol content rises faster than it does for men, and it takes less for us. So the legal drinking limit is 0.08 for everyone, but for women it's easier to get there than it is for men. Yeah. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Okay. So what did you kind of gather from what I said about the legal limits and things like that?
That essentially I'm going to feel more intoxicated than my husband quicker, and it will take me less to get to the same point.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, and sometimes, do you want any more information?
So do you.
Yeah, I mean, and sometimes, it depends on body weight, depends on medications we're taking. There's a lot of factors that go into it. So just kind of be aware, when you do make that decision. Yeah. Now, I know you said you're court ordered here, but, we typically do substance use treatment. Obviously, that's where we are. That's what our service is. But Is there anything else kind of going on that you feel like we could work on?
Not really.
Not really.
No.
Okay. So what we do in the substance use treatment is you'll meet with me every couple weeks, probably every 2 weeks, and you'll also go to group.
Okay.
So in the group, we do just kind of a curriculum. So you'll get more information, if that's okay.
It's fine.
Okay. Now, what substances have you been using lately? I know you said alcohol.
Well, what they found in my car was a small amount of coke and a small amount of pot. So.
Okay, so some cocaine, some marijuana. Okay, and now, can you tell me a little bit about your use with that?
Well, it's more of like we only use it when we're drunk, to keep us like kind of level and.
Yeah, so it keeps you kind of on a consistent feeling. Okay, so you use the alcohol primarily, and then every now and then something else?
Yeah, every now and then.
Okay, all right. And now, do you have any information about cocaine or marijuana or anything like that?
Cocaine is the upper?
It's a stimulant, yeah. So it does just that. It ups us. And, that is something that can kind of counteract, just like you said, with keeping you level. So, yeah. And now, do you know kind of how alcohol and cocaine go together?
No.
Yeah, so alcohol is technically a depressant. If you want to hear this information, I can continue. Yeah, so it's technically a depressant, and cocaine is a stimulant. And sometimes when these two go together, it can be kind of a risky combination because they do opposite things. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so now what other understanding do you have of the two of those?
I know you can get easily addicted to cocaine.
Okay, it is pretty easy to get addicted to it. Can you tell me more about that?
I mean, I just have a couple of friends that, do it too often, and so...
So there's people in your life that you feel might be dependent on cocaine? Okay. And what is that like for you to see?
I mean, I feel like it could be worse,
Can you give me more information about that?
Like, they could be addicted to something that makes them not aware. And, like, like when someone's addicted and, like, constantly drunk, it's kind of, like, more difficult to talk to them and more difficult to... You kind of have to manage them. Where I feel like with coke, you don't really have to do that.
So you are saying that cocaine is easier for the person to be addicted to because they don't have to be taken care of. Okay. And now, when you talk about things that people use where you'd have to take care of them, what do you mean by that?
Like when my husband does get blackout, like,
Yeah.
And he's throwing up places, and I have to, like, put on his pajamas and things like that,
Yeah, so that's pretty frustrating. Yeah, having to take care of him. Okay. And with the cocaine, do you ever, kind of hang out with those friends that use the cocaine?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What is that experience like for you?
I mean, whenever we hang out, I, like, partake in, using it, so it's, like, really not a big deal.
Okay. And now, you had mentioned that alcohol is something that you want to, like, maybe drink less. Have you ever considered cocaine as being something you'd want to use less?
I don't feel like I use it that often.
Okay. What does often look like for you?
Maybe about once every week, maybe 2 times a week.
Okay, so 1 to 2 times a week. Yeah. All right, and so cocaine isn't really something that you're focused on right now?
No.
Okay, but alcohol is. And is it for your benefit or just to get the cord off your kind of current issue?
Kind of my current issue, I would say, more of.
Okay. Now, what would it look like in the future for you, when you're through the courts and things like that?
Probably just go on like about my daily life, you know.
Mm-hmm. What about in relation to substance use, like alcohol?
Well, I mean, I feel like I only really party. Like, I don't do it, like, you know, as much as some people I know.
Okay. Can you tell me about those some people? How much do they use?
Like, every single day, maybe, you know, every 2 days.
Okay.
Like,
so you're not using as frequent as every
No.
day or every 2 days?
No.
Okay. Now, when you drink, how often would you say you drink?
Probably about somewhere in between 3 to 5 days, like somewhere in that range.
All right, so maybe once or twice a week.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so that's manageable for you.
Uh-huh.
All right, and it's mostly with your husband?
Yeah, that are my friends.
Okay, and now does your husband, does he have to deal with the court or anything?
No.
No, so it was just you because of driving. Okay, and what does your husband say about it, about this current circumstance?
He doesn't really give me that much of a hard time, and I think it's because he knows that he would be in the same position, you know, if he drove.
Okay. Now, you say a hard time, so he's not complaining about this circumstance or anything like that?
No. He kind of thinks it's like a bummer that I have to go to court.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, I think that's pretty normal. It's kind of stressful and time-consuming to have to go through stuff like this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So now, it sounds to me like what we're going to work on, you know, in the next couple months that you're with us is just drinking less. And now, when you say less, do you mean less drinks when you drink or less frequency?
If anything, probably less drinks when I drink.
Okay. What does that look like for you now whenever you do drink?
I don't know. I don't really count.
Okay. Well, that's fine. It's normal. A lot of times people don't keep track of drinks, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, moving forward, what do you think would be kind of something helpful to help yourself drink less? What could we do?
Maybe just keep in mind, like, I probably will have to drive if I go out to a bar. So maybe keep that in mind so I don't get in this trouble again.
Okay. So when you go out, just definitely remember that you will have to drive. Mm-hmm. And what other things do you think you could do while you are out?
Maybe you drink more water while I'm out.
Okay. And what about getting home? Are there things that we could think of in regards to getting home?
I mean, we could possibly call it Uber in another way, but he won't want to spend that money.
Okay, so your husband doesn't want to spend the money on the Uber?
No.
Okay, so we could take an Uber, but the money is an issue.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and what are some things, are there any other ways that you've thought of besides Uber?
I mean, someone could be a DD, but none of my friends are going to want to do that.
Okay, yeah, so your friends drink with you guys.
Uh-huh.
Okay, what about you or your husband?
Like, us be the DD?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's just not fun.
Okay, yeah, it isn't fun at all. It's not. But do you want to kind of discuss the Uber situation or, you know, the financial situation of that?
I mean, there's really nothing. We both have jobs.
Yeah.
You know, we're trying.
Yeah, okay. So just kind of the finances of taking an Uber. Now, how much are your court fees?
I don't really know. He takes care of that.
Okay, so your husband takes care of the court fees and the
he
other
does
fees.
the bills. And...
Okay, so he doesn't mind paying for the court fees?
No.
Okay, so maybe, you know, that could be something that you guys use on Uber, you know, going forward.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, no, okay.
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 So, anyways, but yeah, so anyway, it sounds like great. Sounds like we have a lot of information.
Mm-hmm.
You're definitely here to kind of work on learning how to drink more responsibly, learning kind of what that looks like for you, and just definitely getting through the court issue. Yeah. All right. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and set you up for an appointment in a couple weeks. And you'll show up Monday for groups, where you'll get kind of just some more information about use and where you can kind of identify maybe some things that make sense to you that kind of are helpful and things like that.
All right.
All right. Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.